Okay, this video is called God's Way of Healing. And we'll start with a quote by Charles Spurgeon, the pastor. He said, "The gospel is like a caged lion. It does not need to be defended. It just needs to be let out of its cage, and it will defend itself." Charles Spurgeon. Okay, so the first point we're going to talk about God's way of healing is that every drug has negative side effects. And because every drug has negative side effects, often quite significant, every drug has a risk-benefit ratio. And that's really the philosophy of pharmacology, that in a given situation, this particular drug is thought to have more benefits and less likelihood of severe side effect, that it's worth it to take it. That's how almost all drugs are explained. And pharmacology, though, tends to fund the research on their own drug, and they tend to hide the side effects. So the journals owned by pharmacology, the scientists owned by pharmacology, they're basically just advertising. Once the drug side effects are really known, they're often much worse than the benefits might be. For example, people think, oh, metformin's so great. Yeah, right. It inhibits, complex number 1 of mitochondrial electron transport for making ATP energy. Okay? And that's pretty common. Lots of drugs are mitochondrial inhibitors, major side effects. I told you the joke about Prozac. Once it was studied more closely, instead of being recommended as a good antidepressant, there's papers now thinking it should be used for cancer chemotherapy. It's so toxic. Okay, and then a lot of drugs, some people say drugs are like sorcery. And is your doctor a healer or a dealer of drugs? And doctors are taught that almost all diseases are idiopathic, cause unknown, or that the cause is genetic, or maybe it's an infection. And for example, like I was taught when I was in medical school that multiple sclerosis was probably some type of an infection. And once you hear it's an infection, then you're thinking, well, is there an antibiotic? Again, a drug. Okay, once you hear it's genetic, well, then you say, well, there's nothing you could do, so you might as well just take a pill. And idiopathic, of course, the old joke, the doctor's an idiot and the patient's pathetic. Okay, because the total focus of medical training for MDs and DOs is primarily just drugs and surgery, they never learn about nutrition, toxicology, and epidemiology. But those are the most common causes of the common diseases, especially all the chronic Western diseases. They're due to poor diet, toxins, and ignorance. Okay, ignorance of the patient, ignorance of the doctors. And there's very few diseases that are caused by a lack of drugs. People aren't sick because of deficiency of drugs, okay? People don't have too many body parts that need to be cut out, okay? That's very common. Western medicine says, oh, you got gallstones, we'll just cut out your gallbladder. Oh, you got a problem with your appendix, we'll just cut out your appendix, etc., etc. And a wiser move would be live and eat in a way that you don't get gallstones. Live and eat in a way that you don't get appendicitis. Eat your fibers so your stool is liquefied on the right side of the colon and it doesn't precipitate and obstruct the ostomy of the appendix where it connects with the cecum. And so you don't get appendicitis. High fiber vegans, they don't get appendicitis hardly ever. Okay, and this is what we're talking about is God's way of healing. Okay. And by the way, I learned a lot of this from Dr. Day. She's a really smart lady, and she had metastatic breast cancer, and she wrote a book called "I'm Not Afraid of Cancer," and she survived metastatic breast cancer for decades and was very healthy during that time. Okay, so anyways, let's see what else. God's way of healing, as she described it, it's the most effective thing for almost all the chronic Western diseases, essentially just about all of them. It has no side effects. So there is no risk-benefit ratio. There's only benefits. It's free. It doesn't cost any money. And that's why the medical system doesn't want you to know about it. It empowers you too much. Nobody makes money off low-fat vegans. And I think that's the reason why there's so many people nowadays trying to talk you into, becoming a high-fat vegan. So I think the elites who run the world, they want the people eating plant-based diets. It's going to free up a lot of land for them to keep. But they don't want you to be healthy. They want you to eat high fat. They want you to drink caffeine and to not get your sleep. Okay, they want you fat and sick so they can still make money off you, but they don't want you wasting land by eating meat because you need more land to feed the cattle and everything that goes with farming animals in that way. And I think also they want to remove a backup source of food availability for the winter. And I think also they want to get rid of hunters and give them no excuse to be hunting anymore. So I think there's a lot of things that go into it. But be that as it may, in my opinion, the whole high-fat veganism is a big joke and a lie. that you need flax and soy and omega-3s and seeds and chia and nuts and all that stuff. You know, there's good videos about nuts over at the VegSource YouTube channel. You might want to find those interesting. And Dr. McDougall himself had said that, in his opinion, I heard him say this once in one of his lectures, a lot of the nut research is funded by the nut industry. No big surprise there, including a lot of the stuff done in Loma Linda, California, around the Seventh-day Adventist research. Okay, what else? Let's see here. So I thought this is kind of a cool picture there. All right, so basically when you get hooked on drugs, you don't get cured of the disease. It doesn't cure you from coronary artery disease or diabetes or hypertension. You take them for life, and the system milks you like a chump the rest of your life until they stop working, and then you get surgerized, and you're bankrupt, and you die prematurely. So you don't want to turn yourself into a milk cow for the system. Okay, and then basically for the individual, it's kind of like for the whole world. You either make the smart choice to health and happiness and freedom, or you make the chump choice, hooked on drugs and letting someone else run your life for you. Okay, and this is how I felt. I came straight down the pike of conventional medicine, and I was first in my class, did a fellowship at Harvard, and I thought that conventional medicine was it. This is the real deal. This is the best stuff. Then I was freaked out when I got fat in my 30s, about my mid-30s, and my parents were both sick, and I didn't know what to do to help them. No doctor could help me to lose my weight, and I realized I didn't know what I was doing. I thought, exercise more and eat less, the same old stupid thing, a calorie is just a calorie, but that is not true. So then I had to start reading all the nutrition books to figure out how to lose my own weight, which took me a couple of years to figure out how to do that, and then also to figure out how to help my parents. And I wish I had figured things out sooner. I could have helped my parents more. I did give my mom a couple extra years of life, and I did help my father as best I could, but I recommended he go vegan instead of get open heart surgery, but at that time I didn't know it strong enough. It was like 25 years ago, and he still had the open heart surgery, which he did okay from, but he subsequently had a stroke. So anyways, good song to go with this is the Hank Williams Sr. I Saw the Light song. Goes well with that painting by Caravaggio. Okay, now here's kind of a cool painting. Which path do you want to take? You want to take the path of health heaven, if you will, where you do all the smart things that you're supposed to do that we teach on this YouTube channel. Man, what that means is you'll be unlikely to get sick. I'm 60 years old. I have zero medical problems. I'm strong. I'm smart. I can concentrate. And same thing that's pretty typical for most low-fat vegans. Don't get me wrong. There's still the possibility you get sick, and there are some rare things that are genetic. That's all true. But you got much better odds. And then health hell is to continue with the stupid Western diet and all these other problems of Western life that lead to sickness and unhappiness, atheism and all this stuff. Okay, so now there's two ways of doing things. You're going to take care of yourself, or you're going to let somebody else take care of you. All right. So, and here's just a bigger version of that other picture, which I thought was kind of cool. And then, you're going to trust this guy. I trust this guy more than I trust the Ivy League textbooks that are just trying to sell me drugs. And then you're saying, well, what am I talking about? And here's what I'm talking about. Genesis 1:29. Then God said, Behold, I have given you every plant yielding seed, which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree which is fruit, and it shall be food for you. So apparently all humans and animals were vegans at the time of the earth was made. And then people say, well, what about after the flood with Noah? Yes, after the flood with Noah, 40 days and 40 nights of rain had wiped out all the plants. Okay, and because of that, they were then allowed to eat animal foods after that. I think that's Genesis 9:3. And so there it is. The light of the world is knocking. Will you answer? Beautiful painting there by William Holman Hunt from the Pre-Raphaelites. So, anyways, hope that was helpful.